Let's talk about The Witch.
The Witch. Has anyone out there seen The Witch? Probably not, because this is not a mainstream horror movie. This is a movie that came out was released at a festival first and was one of the hit movies that come out of that festival.
Was it Cons?
The one out of Utah.
Sundance.
One out of Utah.
So not Cannes.
There. All right. So it's actually Sundance. Sundance is a festival that it opened at. We just double checked it just to make sure. Okay. And not to sound totally ignorant because we're reviewing movies and we forgot the name of like one of the biggest festivals in the US.
I don't think a Salt Lake City Film Festival would have a movie about witchcraft in it.
But it does.
I don't know. Do Mormons believe in witches?
Don't ask me.
You know more about it than I do.
This movie is written, directed. Actually, like I'm pretty sure he did some of the costume design for this because that's what he originally did by Robert Eggers, who I remember when this came out and I was looking at like the reviews of like Sundance. I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
Well, that's how we heard about it first. It just came out of a trailer and we found out it wasn't going to come. We saw the trailer like this is right up our alley. And when's it come out? Next year. Yeah. Fuck.
We saw like a teaser trailer for it and we're like, oh my gosh, like because everyone was freaking out. Like this is like such a dread-filled movie and stuff. We were freaking out. We're like, oh my gosh, we love horror movies. Like this movie's for us.
That's what happens all the time though. Remember Raw? There was that clickbait article where it's like Raw had people vomiting in the theater trying to leave, and then we watched it and it's like I don't want to vomit, but
yeah, a
lot of clickbait.
That like honestly might say more about us than it does about that we watch so many movies. That at this point, like we're kind of desensitized to like some of the violence. Like
that wasn't so bad.
So this movie is, it's directed, written by Robert Eggers. This guy is truly an artist. You can tell by just the way that the movie opens. You can tell by the way it's written. This movie is taking place in like 1630. That's what it says, at least according to IMDb.
Yeah, Puritan era.
Yeah, Puritan era.
In the days of witch hunting and witchcraft and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just
very
devout belief in God.
Yeah, a very like pious belief in like good versus evil, good being God and
anything else being
witchcraft, sin, evil, or etc. witchcraft. So this movie opens with, first of all, we're going to tell you to put on your subtitles.
Yeah.
100%. Before you, like, as soon as this movie starts, throw your subtitles on. Because this movie is written in, like, old English.
Period accurate, Puritan era English. Like, if you read a Shakespeare book and went, what the hell are they talking about? It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. It's obviously, like, not as, like, whimsical as Shakespeare, but it is period accurate English, like, old English dialogue, which is amazing, but when you're watching this movie for the first time, you really need to be able to absorb the dialogue along with the movie just to know what's going on.
Which is, I mean, even more interesting because, you look at, like we were just saying, you look at a play where it's old English dialogue, Shakespearean level dialogue, and it's written very lofty and it comes off as like, I am watching a play right now. But they managed to pull off this thing where it doesn't feel like a play. They're having a normal conversation, just happens to be in period accurate dialogue, which I feel is probably even harder to do to make it not seem whimsical, like Chris said, and lofty. It's the way these people would have a conversation sitting outside doing yard work.
Yeah.
Which is probably even harder to do without making it sound stupid.
Yeah, so like as Nick was saying, when this movie opens, that's one of the first things you're going to notice is that the way this movie is written is in like that old English dialogue. So throw on your subtitles. Ignore the if you're watching this on Amazon Instant Video for free, which comes with your Prime membership, we are not sponsored. Not a plug. Not sponsored. Just letting you know. Throw on your subtitles, and this movie opens with the family, which it kind of shows individually. There's a father. The father's name is William. He's played by Ralph, I guess it's Ineson or something.
Ralph, yeah, Ineson.
I think he does a lot of like Shakespeare stuff. Like he's in a lot of random.
The only time I ever recognized him was when he was the cop who was interrogating Eggsy and Kingsman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
yep.
It's him.
Yeah, and he's speaking normally in that scene. Thank God. And then there's the mom, who's named Catherine. She's played by Kate Dickie.
Isn't she in that kind of like low budget show, like Game of Thrones or something like that?
Yeah, that low budget show.
I haven't really watched it. I just know she's in it because people can't stop telling me about everything about that show.
The one whose like kid is like really fucked up and is in love with Littlefinger. Like she's that one.
No one knows what you're talking about. No one watches that show.
Yeah, no one watches that show. And then the kind of we would say is the standout of this movie in a lot of ways is the oldest daughter, and her name is Thomasin, like Thomasin, which is kind of like a little bit of a, I don't know, maybe it's like a boy's name to us, but name's Thomasin. She's played by Anya Taylor-Joy, or maybe it's pronounced Anna.
Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
She's in she blew up after this movie. I don't even think from the commercial success of it, just because she's good. I mean, she's in Split. What was that new movie, Thoroughbreds, which neither of us have seen?
Yeah.
She was also, interestingly enough, the very first audition that Robert Eggers had, and he picked her. He had 50 people lined up, saw her, and go, "Yep, that's the one."
And I read that
I don't know if it was a casting couch situation, or she was just really good.
This is definitely This isn't a Weinstein Company production, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think Robert Eggers, huge sex pervert, interested in his best background in witchcraft.
Yeah. But I actually read that it's kind of how things go in Hollywood that's surprising, but a lot of the times, like actors or actresses, especially like young actors or actresses, they break out like all at once. Like it wasn't like she did this movie and then she was like referred. Like she broke out in this movie, like it came out afterwards, but she'd already started acting in other movies.
That's true actually,
Yeah. So this movie opens in, get a little sidetracked. This movie opens in a church, and essentially the father doesn't agree with the way that the church in this like village or town that they live in is being run, or like the views and stuff like that. He
disagrees with the church somehow. The details aren't really important, but the point is they're cast out from their colony.
Yeah.
Because of their father.
Yeah, their father's pride, which is, his sin in this, his like first kind of sin in this movie, and happens to be like a reoccurring theme throughout the movie.
Yeah, sin.
Well, pride,
yeah, and everyone has a sin too.
Yeah,
which we'll get into, but also what I noticed on my 8th or 9th or 10th or 11th watching of this was if the very first shot is just the father explaining himself to the church, and it just cuts to each member of the family before even him, and they all have this really worried look on their faces, like, oh no, dad's fucking us over big time. They look really concerned, so it just sets the tone of uncertainty, and they all look, their life is already spiraling out of control.
Yeah,
which is a kind of a good tone to set.
Yep. And after that scene in the church was kind of like your opening scene. There's not a lot of, they really don't bring that much dialogue in like the next like 5 minutes, but essentially what happens is they show the family leaving like the colony or whatever.
They're singing songs, praying
in the woods.
They're hopeful.
Yeah,
we'll get out of here. We'll make a better life.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of they're heading out of the colony, and they're going through the woods, singing songs, like straight up something you'd picture out of like the Oregon Trail or something, like
or like National Lampoon's Vacation.
Yeah, really
heading out west.
There's no Holiday Road playing in the background. Like there's kind of a dreary like music score playing in the background.
That's what you heard in the opening of this podcast. Be prepared to hear a lot of that, to be physically assaulted with the score in the best possible way. It's great.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's amazing.
I actually listened to the whole thing from start to finish, and I wanted to take a shower. It's great.
That might be from like association.
Maybe.
But family goes off and they find like a little like patch in the woods, and the family all like sit like the way that this movie kind of, I don't want to say like really takes off, but the jumping off point is sort of them all holding hands and saying like, this is our land and this is how we start. And then the score like the camera like zooms into the woods and the score like really ramps up and then cuts off. And like, that's the start of the movie. And you're kind of left with like this wonder of like, the movie's called The Witch, and that there's some force or some entity or something for this movie to be called The Witch that is about a witch.
Spoiler alert, there's a witch.
Yeah.
And you know that within like the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yep.
Which I was surprised at.
Yeah. And we're not going to reveal too much about The Witch itself because... Because there's... In some ways, there's a lot to say, but there's also not a lot to say about it.
What I like about it is they do it. It's such a fantastical concept, a witch, right? And witchcraft in this dreary, I don't want to say realistic, but period accurate realistic movie with these believable characters where you're looking at a real authentic family. But then you bring in this witchcraft element and it almost seems like it would become absurd, but it doesn't, because they handle it so dead on and so flat on its face, with witchcraft and just how disgusting it is, that it becomes sort of believable within the context of it. I mean, I'm looking at the notes on this, and according to all the trivia and articles I read, all the witchcraft elements are by Puritan, writings and stories. They're completely accurate. Yeah. They're done faithfully. Robert Eggers didn't just pull this out of his ass to make a movie. I mean, he read scriptures and letters or, and journals written by people back then. And this is what they considered witchcraft. And he does that authentically on the screen, which makes it just really,
it sounds like it's almost like it's grounded in the time appropriately.
Correct. Yeah.
It's absolutely really grounded in the time appropriately. And this movie in kind of there's not really a event by event plot necessarily. But this movie is about a family that is not staying true necessarily to their, I don't say like religion or their belief system. They think they are in a lot of ways, but they're crumbling and they're like faltering individually and as a family.
And you start to wonder whether this would have happened anyway. I mean, or it's just because now they're cursed by this witch, which we didn't bring up. So really the kicking off point is about 10 minutes in when Thomasin is playing with their youngest baby, Samuel, and she's playing peekaboo with him. And then, you've probably seen in the trailer, she says, boo. And the baby's just gone, completely gone. And then you see what happens to the baby, which I don't know. Are we talking about spoilers?
You already did.
It's in 10 minutes into the movie. Yeah.
You already did.
The baby is kidnapped by the witch, brought to the witch's little shack, killed with a knife, and then mashed up into a butter churner to make an ointment which the naked, dumpy old witch rubs all over herself and then flies off on a fucking broom. And it's all beautiful to look at.
It's really well shot.
Yeah.
Really well done. They don't show like those things happening.
Well,
they kind of
they do. Sure, they do.
No, they don't show.
You see the baby, and then she holds a knife over it.
So yeah, but then they cut away,
and then cut away. You just see a mash.
It's not like Bone Tomahawk where you literally see a scalping.
Split the baby apart at the dick, and then
yeah. Like they kind of save you from that, or like Eggers decides to save you from that. Thank God. I mean, it's.
I don't think you can scalp a baby. It doesn't have any hair.
I know. Okay, so it's inferred. A lot of this stuff is inferred. But that's like the trigger event that leads to like one thing after another. Like they lose their faith and they start falling to like their human tendencies.
Yeah. Like
the father's being pried. Like one of the themes in this movie is that they're hungry. Like the family is hungry. There's, dad, mom, oldest daughter, another son, and then there's two twins, and then there's all these animals.
It's
Caleb.
Hold on. The father's name is William, Catherine, Thomasin, Caleb, Jonas, and Mercy.
Well, Nick gets the award and the prize for knowing all of the names of all the characters off the top of his head.
Yeah.
So there's mom, dad, Thomason, who's the oldest daughter, Caleb, and then twins. What are the names? Mercy.
Jonas and Mercy.
Jonas and Mercy was a guy and girl, and then they have all these like animals, and they're hungry. The land that they're on is not yielding like corn. It's not yielding like the crops that they need.
She drops an egg, and the egg cracks, and it's just this half-formed chicken fetus.
Yeah.
Everything is just so bad.
Yeah, and each of the characters, or like even the kids, have like their own sins that they're falling to, living out in like the woods, and they're on like this patch of land just surrounded by woods.
Yeah, like Caleb's sin, I mean, is he's a young prepubescent boy, and there's a couple shots where his sister Thomason is sleeping, and you kind of catch him kind of looking down,
glancing
at her blouse because she has a little bit of cleavage showing. I mean, they don't go too much into it, but you get the sense that he's a prepubescent boy living in this Puritan era where all your bad thoughts are sins, and he feels guilty of it, but he's giving into it. And I mean, I don't know what the twins are sinning.
I know they're kind of too young to.
Yeah,
but I guess you could kind of say that they just like almost like don't have faith. Like they believe in like the opposite. Like
they're trying. They're just desperately trying to cling on to God will help us. God will save us.
Yeah, but they honestly kind of don't know any better, and they believe in like the wrong things, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Mostly because of the father. I mean, the father is such that the patriarch of the family. That he kind of just imposes his will on everybody else, and they all just kind of go, oh, okay,
yeah,
I guess that'll work.
And like we mentioned, that the family is in shit through the movie already because the land isn't yielding the food they need. And as you can kind of see in the theme related to the beginning of the movie, where the father's pride is standing in the way, his pride is keeping them from moving off this land. Like, no, he's like, no, God will provide. Like,
we were right to do this. We were right to leave.
Yeah, like he believes that they're in the right, and the family is really suffering. Like the mom is it's England, or I mean Old English, whatever. The mom is like, I want to go back to England. Like, Thomason. I don't know what you can really say about Thomason. Like her sin. I think Thomason
she's meant to be the pure one in this.
Yeah, exactly. Like Thomason is in a way kind of, she stands out as an actress, but I think the movie in a lot of ways, maybe they cover it a little bit, but a lot of ways the movie is about her.
Kind of. What ends up being mostly about her, because she becomes this focal point where all the family just kind of, well, especially the parents, they just kind of unleash their rage into Thomason because they fault her for the baby going missing, for being killed or taken away.
Yeah, she's like,
they say, oh, he wasn't baptized. Our baby is in hell, and they just kind of take it out on Thomason, who's kind of their whipping post for all their failings, and it's just kind of horrible for her.
Yeah, she's kind of you'll find out while you're watching the movie, she's kind of like the best of them. And I don't know if that's because she's like the purest in the sense that hasn't been exposed. She's still young. Like she's probably like 14, 15 in the movie.
Yeah.
14, 15, 16.
The oldest, yeah.
You're not sure if it's because of her age or her experiences or whatever, but she's the one that I was going to use like a Batman reference. Like, she's right ahead. She's like, like Harvey Dent, they say he's like the white knight they have to bring down, She's kind of like that in a way. She's like the one who's like the most pure, the one that they almost use her as like a switchboard for like their frustrations in the movie. Like everyone is like blaming her and shit for what's going on. And like, she's like nothing, like, you're also in the movie, she's like the most innocent one of like all the issues and stuff.
Yeah. Like
she's the one who's holding on to faith, family the most. And all of like the shortcomings of the family.
The rest of them are just, I mean, the parents are just pretending. I mean, the twins are just the twins. They're just there.
Yeah.
But the mother, Catherine and William are just fooling themselves. Well, speaking of the twins, let's talk about the child acting in this.
Yeah.
Usually child acting sucks.
Yeah.
In most movies, except under really good directors, it brings a movie down. When they bring a kid element in, it's always the worst part of the movie. I mean, this movie, if it didn't have good child acting, the whole thing would have fallen right on its face. Yeah. Because it's two adults and 4 children, basically. Well, 1 teenager and 3 children. And that's pretty fucking incredible, considering how authentic. And not only that, but to have these kids speaking in period-accurate dialogue. I don't know how the hell this guy did it.
Yeah.
I have no idea. He must have coached these kids ad nauseum for their lines.
Yeah.
Or he just got extremely lucky, but you can't get that lucky 3 times with 3 child actors. Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
And they speed up when they're talking too. So they're talking in this difficult dialect to speak in, like, quickly, and they're remembering all the lines. And these are kids. How old are the twins? Like, those actors
are like 6, 7 years old.
Yeah, they're like 6 years old. Like, they're young.
Tiny. They're really tiny, which is funny because they look like little midgets running around because they're wearing these, the robes and the bonnets.
Yeah.
The pilgrim clothes, and it makes them look really funny.
I actually kind of laughed, like, the first time I saw it because they sing these, like, little songs.
To their goat, Black Phillip,
Yeah, so they sing these songs, like these like period accurate songs, and they like jump around like holding hands and stuff. You're like, oh, they're so cute, and then you like listen to them like, oh shit, like they're singing some stuff that they probably shouldn't be saying or singing.
Mm. But it's coming out of the mouth of a child, so it sounds silly until you realize, oh, they're getting into some witchcraft stuff.
Yeah, and you're like, where did they learn this? Where did they learn or hear this?
Because their parents sure as hell didn't teach them that.
Like, the parents, like, for all the faults the parents have, you're like, there's no way they taught them this fucking song. but you're like, oh, that's so cute, them jumping around and stuff. Like, there's some scenes you're like, oh, that's adorable. And then you realize, like, the source material of what they're talking about is so just, they're wading into waters they really shouldn't.
That's what kind of lends itself to the slow burn. The buzzword now with movies is it's a slow burn, which is just code for a lot of people for boring.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, if you only like the Insidious movies and the Conjuring movies or Paranormal Activity, and this is not for you. I would call this more of a ticking time bomb, because slow burning is, where is this going? But this movie, you know where it's going. You know everything is going to crumble horribly, and just waiting to see when it's going to happen. It's just waiting for everyone to slowly lose their minds. We know what the end result is. We're just waiting to see how it gets there.
Yep, and one of the ways they do that is, we kind of talked about a scene with the witch, but they do, under the direction of Eggers, they do a good job of not overly exposing you to the witch
or explaining.
Yeah, they don't. They keep it like kind of like self-explanatory in a way.
There's no exposition scene where they figure out what's going on, and then there's that scene in the horror movies where they go on Google and look up, well, this is what Bagul is. Yeah, and we have ourselves a demon, and she uses babies to fly around on a broomstick, and we have to stop this before the witch takes. There's none of that.
Yeah, they keep it as this kind of like looming, daunting entity or horror that isn't necessarily present the whole time. And a lot of people who see the title of this movie and go to watch it, who are giving the movie 3 out of 5 stars, I think are waiting for like...
Or bringing the average down with 1 star because it was boring.
Yeah, they're waiting for like that moment where like there's a big jump scare.
Or they're waiting for the witch to be on screen every 10 minutes, terrorizing the family, chasing them through the woods.
Yeah, they're waiting for like this like arch nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not really the point. You're supposed to fill the space, or the viewer is supposed to fill the space of what the witch represents, or what the witch as a,
agent of Satan, basically.
Yeah, like what it
ends up being.
Like that's where the dread comes from.
Because in Puritan era, witches were just women that submitted themselves to the devil. They're servants of the devil.
Yeah.
And everything that's horrible and evil and bad.
So one thing we'll advise when you're watching this movie, not for like the sake of like it being like a horror movie or like a scary movie or like a jump scare movie or whatever, because it's really not.
I think there's one jump scare in the entire movie.
And it's good.
It's not even meant to really be a jump scare.
Oh, yeah. I can think of another kind of one.
Maybe.
Yeah, I yelped at that one. I was like, ah! I freaked out. Yeah. Watch this movie in a blacked out room.
And for God's sakes, put down your fucking phone.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna not only will you not know what's going on the way they're speaking, but you also miss some pretty great camera work. And the way the way this is shot is a lot different from some other horror movies where they play the camera for scares. They don't really do that.
No.
It's like I said, we said in the beginning, it's more of an experience, and it really is, because this is one of my favorite kinds of horror movies where it's like it's an isolated movie where you feel claustrophobic. They're out in the middle of the woods, where they could go anywhere, but they're surrounded by trees, and it almost feels like they're boxed in this little spot. And going into the woods is just dangerous. And you really feel that this movie was shot in a different aspect ratio, literally to make the trees look taller and make the woods look more looming and invasive, which really kind of lends to the we are trapped in this horrible situation kind of feel of it.
Like Nick was mentioning, like this movie has that feeling of like claustrophobia in a way that, like we mentioned the word like the witch is like daunting and stuff, but like he said, the way this movie is shot lends to that very well. Like the trees look taller, like the shots in the movie are fucking beautiful too.
It's in a weird kind of gray, drab kind of way.
Yeah.
Because the way they make the forest look, it looks like middle of nowhere woods where everything is just... But even in rich woods, where there's a lot of green and trees and plants, and it looks dreary and awful, but in a kind of pretty way.
If I was like, just thinking, if I was to combine this movie with like a couple like stories and movies, I'd put like The Crucible.
Never seen it.
Not the movie, like what I'm talking about. Like The Crucible, like the story, like the plot, whatever.
Oh,
like
sure, yeah.
The story of Hansel and Gretel. And The Shining. And The Shining.
I've heard several people refer to this as The Shining.
Yeah,
I mean, rightfully so.
I like The Shining's, obviously like a classic. Like it's a classic movie. It's the same in that it gives you like kind of like it's an atmospheric dread. Like an atmospheric something is wrong, like something is terribly wrong. It's meant to make you just uncomfortable.
Right. You never know when to relax, because some of the the ghost movies and the stuff now, you get your jump scare out of the way, this scary scene, and then you're safe because it's daylight and the characters are talking and they're having character moments, and you go, okay, well there's nothing bad that's gonna happen right now. We're between scary scenes, and then nighttime comes, you go, oh boy, here we go, got a scary scene coming up.
Yeah,
there's none of that in this. Anything could be a scary scene.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's just that overwhelming feeling, and even when they film the inside of their house, it feels claustrophobic. Yeah,
it's a tiny little shack. The minimal lighting too, and I don't know, it's like what the Revenant thing again. They used all natural light. I think a lot of the shots they use natural light, especially the dinner table scenes.
Those are. It's
good. Just candlelight, which really also lends itself to Robert Eggers being an artist, like you said, because some of the dinner table scenes legitimately look like a painting.
Yeah,
like a Puritan era painting of a family, or there's a lot of Jesus references with the father.
Yeah,
where he's standing and praying at the table. He has his arms raised up in that Jesus,
Last
Supper kind of way, which I think is a little on the nose, but it kind of it's also this father sees himself as kind of a god figure.
Yeah, you can
kind of not really it's not tongue in cheek, but
you can
if
get
you pause
the
movie a couple times, you'd be like, this looks like something that someone had painted.
Isn't the fireplace behind him while he's doing that too?
I think it is, yeah.
Which is even lends itself more.
There's 3 candles in the middle of the room, or the middle of the table.
Yeah,
and it's just straight down the table. Like I said, very like tableau-esque.
Dude, it's. Oh my gosh. It's some of the scenes that just legitimately look like a portrait. Like, if I was looking for like movie wall art, the scene where they're sitting in like on the way to this like place that they choose, there's like one scene where they're all sitting around the campfire. If you just clip that and like took a picture of that and put the witch on the top of it, it'd be a great movie poster.
If you're looking for movie house art, aka ways to weird out your house guests.
Future theater for us.
Yeah.
We were saying that the way this is truly a craft. Like it is a crafted movie by an artist.
It's kind of one of those lightning in a bottle movies that you really don't get very often.
No,
they come around maybe once a year. You had the year before that it was It Follows.
Yeah.
Since we're not sponsored, also let's take a second to talk about A24, who's also not sponsoring us. This is an A24 movie, and for those of you who don't know what A24 Studios is, they come out. Actually, they're growing a lot now. They come out with if it's a movie that your weird movie buddy told you about and says it's really good, it's probably out of A24. They're a studio that does that takes risks and does stuff like The Witch. It follows. It Comes at Night. Going off horror, like the Florida Project stuff, where really
stuff we watch.
Creative directors can actually have control over the movies, not the committee movie.
Yeah, A24 is a great, like, kind of. I don't say they're emerging because they're
pretty out there now.
They're pretty out there now, but they
Swiss
do.
Army
Did
Man.
they do?
They did. They put out Under the Skin. Everything that's creative and good, and that comes out just under the radar of the big box office is usually an A24 movie.
I wonder if Hereditary is A24.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, because it's a first time director writer, like like Robert Eggers.
They take chances, and they
take chances.
I mean, their list of movies is the stuff they put out is huge. It's bigger than I even thought it was.
Yeah. So, anyways, if you're like I said in last week's podcast, if you're looking to make that next move to something deeper than just like the casual movie, like something that will pop up in like an artsy theater near you, like stick with A24 like studio movies. It's a good place for you to like. You can just go down the vein of A24 movies.
Just scroll down their list.
Yeah,
and just watch their stuff, and you'll find there's better stuff out there than Paranormal Activity movies. Having said that, I do love the Saw movies and like the Conjuring
and the
movies.
Blumhouse movies. Like,
some of them are really stupid, but
back to The Witch. We're gonna stay loose on certain aspects leading up to the ending, but I will say this: the ending was very satisfying for me.
Yeah, I also did not think they would end like that in a good way.
Yes. Like this, oh man, I wish I could get into the territory of it, but you have to, this is I guess use like the word, it's slow burning. Like when you go through this movie, like wondering like where is this going to go? Like the sense of dread building up. And then you finally get there. Like the last maybe like 5 to 10 minutes of this movie. I honestly, in a certain way, like I didn't want it to end, but I appreciated it ending.
Well, there was a moment towards the end where I thought it ended. It cut to black.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a pretty solid ending. And then it picks up about 2 seconds later, and there's more. And that's where it really kind of takes the turn from slow burning to, okay, well, this is the final, this is what we've been building to. I don't know. I mean, do you want to talk about it?
The ending?
If you haven't seen The Witch, we're about to talk about the ending. Which, if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
All right.
Both recommend it.
Alert. Spoilers right now.
So, everyone is dead but Thomasin. She stabs her mother in the throat, kills her. Black Phillip the goat gores the father, and the woodpile falls on top of him.
Jump scare.
In a great wide shot, which actually kind of looks funny.
Yeah.
And then everyone's dead. The twins were taken away by the witch, and now Thomasin is by herself, and she wants to know if Black Phillip, the goat that was conversing with the twins and is actually Satan, if he's for real, if this is all in her head, or if it's imaginary, or she's losing her mind. So she just goes in the shed, basically says, Black Phillip, are you fucking there?
Yeah. Black Phillip,
direct quote.
Are you real?
Direct quote. Black Phillip, what are you for fucking real? And do you understand my English tongue? Do you understand me?
Yeah.
Speak to me. And then, hold on, let me get close to the mic here. For a second. What dost thou want?
God, it's such a good fucking scene.
And I think I got my skin crawled and I got a boner at the same time. I was like, holy shit, this is for real. And it's Satan. Satan speaks to Thomasin, and everything you heard about, or they were theorizing about with the witch and witching the family and taking and killing Caleb and everything is 100% true. None of it was in their heads. He tempts her into signing his book.
Yeah, but I mean, I think
basically submitting to him.
I think the thing that like goes with practice of this could be like philosophical in a certain way, but like what you put your like belief into like kind of grows in a way, and it existed, like it was like the evil in the world, like the Satan, like the witch and stuff, like all existed in the world, like existed in the world in this movie. And as they believed more, it took over their thoughts and became more real to them with their belief, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they let it in. Like they let in the the dread, the belief, they lost their faith. And like Thomasin, like we were mentioning earlier, was like, she was the one person, like the most pure, the one who was holding out the longest. And when her faith breaks, it's boy, like, does it. Boy, does it. Boy, does it.
Which is interesting because if you look at the full name of this, I mean, the title of the movie is The Witch, but then the surname under it is A New England Folktale. It kind of begs the question: is did all this manifest itself and become true because they believed it to be so, or is this just how witchcraft works? You know, it's kind of one of those weird think about it kind of things where you go, oh, is this all their fears and dreads and what the Puritans thought was witchcraft, and then the devil was like, oh, that's what you think it is, or I'll just make it that because that's what terrifies you the most, or is this just how it is? I mean, it doesn't need to be answered because it doesn't matter. The final shot of it, it's awesome. She goes into the woods and just there's a bunch of witches out there chanting and praying to Satan around a bonfire, and then she starts ascending up into the sky, and she starts laughing / crying.
So she just becomes a witch.
Cuts to black, and I couldn't believe it. Probably one of the best horror endings I've seen in a long time.
Just the music, like crescendoing with the whole thing too.
Yeah, it's the chanting music, with like all the shrill, high pitched witches.
Dude, it's so fucking good.
Yeah, it's great.
I remember like you said, the movie was almost, I saw it in theaters, and like the movie was almost, and like I knew it was coming to an end. And when it first went to black, I was like, oh fuck, like that's it? And it kept going. I was like, yes, that's awesome.
Yes, more.
And then like when this happened, I was like, oh fuck, I want to see more, don't end. I was like sitting there in the theater like waiting. Mm-hmm. Oh, I was like, I just wanted more, man. So fucking good.
This is one of those, I love showing this to people because I'm a sicko. I always insist people watch this, and then when I can finally bait them into watching it with me, I always turn off the lights and then just have this weird creepy grin on my face when all the horrible stuff happens, and I look over and they look disgusted. But this is, I mean, I guess I'm just kind of a weirdo, but
yeah. So like we mentioned, this is not really a mainstream movie. So if you're making that like leap or like that step down to good movies that are well acted, well directed, well written, yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna watch this with your buddies, if you're gonna watch this with your friends, if you're gonna watch this, if you're watching this like a theater setting, either don't watch it by yourself.
I can't recommend watching this alone more.
Or turn off your phone, put your phone away, don't make a lot of noise, don't talk, just listen and watch. And you're gonna need to, because if you're watching the first time, you're probably gonna have subtitles on to pay attention to the dialogue. Sounds great, music's great. It's really well directed. Actors are awesome.
If you're going to watch it on iPad, which most of you are probably going to do, because that's just the way it is now, put headphones on. Yeah. For all these movies, for the love of God, put headphones on.
Yeah. The theater experience for this movie, I saw in theaters.
So did I.
Nick saw in theaters.
I'd like to talk about my theater experience, if I may.
Go ahead.
So, the trailer roped a lot of people in. Oh, it's that creepy witch movie. So I go in and I go, oh man, like I can't wait to watch this. I went to my local, what was it, the Angelica Theater? Yeah, which is kind of, I guess you'd call it in a douchey way, an art house theater, which I hate saying. But so I go in and there's a couple behind me, guy and a girl, and they're munching popcorn in my ear, and I'm trying to, get engaged with this thing and immerse myself, and I can hear them whispering behind me, of course, and this girl goes, this is not even scary. And they're laughing at some points, and
oh my gosh,
and she's asking him questions like, "What do you say? What's this about?" And it's driving me insane. And after I'd experienced this creepy, looming, dreadful, atmospheric, insert adjective here, like amazing, well-crafted horror movie, this girl behind me goes, "That wasn't even scary."
I would have just told her to shut the fuck up.
It so
drives me crazy.
And that in a nutshell is your horror audience. It's either boo, jump, and everybody laughs because you're not scared, you just got startled, or people who really appreciate, putting themselves in the shoes of these characters and feeling all these horrible emotions they're feeling. And that's the more effective horror. Those are the ones that stick with you. I don't even remember what Paranormal Activity 2 is about. I just know I jumped a few times, obviously, because I got startled.
Honestly,
but this is, I won't forget this one.
I mean, if I was one of these people and like, fuck, I'd compare it to like if they were like at work and they had just written a report and they handed it to me and I looked at them and went, is this supposed to be serious? Because this is shit. Like that's what I compare that to.
Yeah.
Like this is Eggers' craft. Like this movie is his art form. And for them to want to get something out of it for themselves like that, like appreciate the movie for the craft that it is. Like they're speaking in fucking old English dialect.
Well, not really. Not like I love Enemy at the Gates, but it's the Russian movie.
Oh
where
yeah,
all the Russians speak with British accents.
Yeah. It's not like that. It's way more authentic.
So we'll wrap this up. Where if you like The Witch and you think Robert Eggers has a real flair for this, there's good news because I'm looking here. He's got a movie called The Night coming up, Knight, and it's described as a medieval epic, so that's pretty awesome. And then for those of you who know who Nosferatu, the vampire, he's doing, I guess, what would be a reimagining of Nosferatu, which sounds good to me.
Yeah. And by the way, guys and ladies, if you're gonna pour yourself something for this movie, I know exactly what I'm doing.
What are you doing?
Like a coffee stout.
Really?
Yeah. Like some kind of like a stout dark beer. Something with some body.
Yeah.
Maybe an oatmeal stout.
It would have to be
oatmeal stout.
It would have to be out of a mug. Like a metal chalice if you had it. Or just, cut yourself and just lick that a little bit.
Yeah, if you want to fit into the
if you want to really get weird with it. If you have any suggestions on movies you'd love us to comment on, send us an email at amateurhourmovies@gmail.com, tweet us at amateurhourmov, or Instagram us at amateurhourmovies. We'll be teasing throughout the week our release for the following Monday on all these platforms. Every week on Monday at 10 a.m. we'll release our commentary on one of our favorites. We do this because the only thing we love more than watching movies is sitting around and talking about movies.